In early 2010, I received a death threat from the National Security Service of Kyrgyzstan, formerly known as KGB. It happened because KLOP, the news website that I had founded, started investigating the criminal activities of Kyrgyzstan's president's son. Oh, those were hard times, actually. And most amazingly, this investigation was done by a group of teenage reporters led by 18-year-old Anna. They even managed to publish the first story of the series, which was about how son of the president gained illegal control over the biggest country's communications provider. And I was, of course, freaked out by the threat. We were even thinking of introducing a self-censorship and putting a huge disclaimer on the website that would say that we are not covering anything about president and his family anymore. And then opposition protests started in the country. And people were fed up with the way the president was ruling this country with his family. And we thought, okay, we were told about not writing anything about the president, but we weren't told anything about opposition protests. So we started covering them. Today, KLOP is the 5th most popular news website in Kyrgyzstan. And it's not just a news website. It's also a journalism school. And the age of our students is usually 14 to 25. And they are also the main contributors to the website. I think that we are actually probably the most successful youth media outlet in the world. These young people are the first generation that was born after Kyrgyzstan became independent. And they don't just learn journalism. They actually learn how to stand up for themselves, and they learn how to question authorities. And this was unthinkable, even for grown-ups, some 30 years ago. And what is especially amazing, these young people started setting trends in the journalism of the whole country. I founded KLOP in 2007 with my friend Rinat. And it happened shortly after I was kicked out of the journalism department of the university. And I thought there was something totally wrong about this, because I was actually one of the very few students who was super interested in journalism. So we thought, okay, we need to do something that would be totally opposite to this. We need to build a school where we wouldn't have 4 years of boring theory, but we would have students who would publish their first stories on the second week of education. And we built it. Of course, at the beginning, we were laughed at, because our kids would go out on the streets with their microphones and people would just not treat them seriously. But then amazing things started happening. In 2008, our 15-year-old reporter, Timur, registered in the parliament as the official parliament reporter. And in 2009, he investigated the breakup in the ruling coalition of the parliament. Coming back to protests of 2010, we covered each of them. Kids actually covered each of them. And one day, in April 2010, opposition took control of the whole region of Talas in the west of the country after heavy clashes with the police. And we suddenly found out that we were the only news website from Kyrgyzstan that was telling the truth about what was going on. Because all the other media outlets were mostly telling that it is still police controlling this region, which was very far from reality. We did a minute-by-minute coverage of what eventually became known as Kyrgyz Revolution of 2010. We got hundreds of thousands of people visiting our website. And it was amazing that it was done by really, really young reporters. President Bakiyev was overthrown after deadly clashes, where more than 80 people died. And the death threat that we had received before had no sense anymore. Sometimes our journalists did stories that lead to really serious consequences. 22-year-old Ulukbek and his colleague LDR, he's not pictured here, of the same age, investigated how Ministry of Education used hidden Latin characters in the bid for the government contract, so that only friends of government officials would know about this competition and would eventually win. This story led to the government official being fired, and I think it saved something like $2 million of the state budget from being stolen. One day in 2014, these two young girls, 15 years old Nur Jamal and 16-year-old Aizirek, were leaving the parliament building after covering some session, which is usual stuff. And they saw in the yard that there was a car of an MP, a parliament member, standing there with totally tinted black front window, which is not allowed in Kyrgyzstan. So their natural reaction was to get the camera out and start filming it. They were immediately approached by the security guard, who told them that they should not film, and he tried to close the camera with his hand, to which they replied, and I was so proud when I heard this on the video, they said, "We actually have a right to film here. Can you just let us finish our job?" And they finished their job, and it led to a big story. And this short line that they said, I think it reflected the result of the hard work that we had been doing by teaching all these young journalists. These girls are such a great example of young people who know their rights and who are ready to fight for them. And I really want them to be an inspiration and a role models for all the subsequent generations of people in my country. Thank you.